Happy birthday to the World Wide Web. Did you know it's 30 years old this week? The web has been a force for good. Half of the world are online. We use it all the time to learn, connect, find love, and of course for a spot of shopping. However, its founder, Sir Tim Berners-Lee, has written an open letter which highlights his concerns. He's worried about how the internet is being used for malicious intent and the consequences of things like fake news, outrage and polarisation. I'm with Sir Tim. Undoubtedly, the internet has enhanced our lives, but we live in times which are becoming more divided by the second. The internet is a tool which enables hate to be created and spread, one which allows bullying to take place 24/7, and one which allows people to act, often with no fear of consequences. As with all tools, it is, of course, how we use them which counts, and we therefore need to make sure that we're focusing our energies into building accountability, new laws and good ethics into our online society pronto.
I think, Michelle, in general, in the spirit and ethos of what you said, I agree with you. I think the tables have turned, and gone are the days when, if you remember, Google's slogan used to be "Don't be evil, don't say evil," whatever it was, and everyone was full of this heady optimism that the internet was going to usher in this new era of loving, friendly business. And it turns out, surprise, surprise, hey presto, they are just another money-making machine. In particular, Google, Facebook, and the other large social media companies. I also think that there is a case to be made, perhaps with antitrust legislation, that some of them need to be broken up. So, for example, Rupert Murdoch, and, you know, okay, clearly he has his own issues, but he mentioned recently that they should bring forward legislation that splits the advertising side from the search engine side of Google because it's killing publishing. Now, if we were to put aside, a bit like Tony Blair and the EU referendum, if we were to put aside who's saying it and look at the substance of the point, there's a point there, and I think actually they have become too big and too powerful. And of course, the consequences of that on whether they're moderating their own content, whether they consider themselves publishers or platforms, that's where the hate comes from, because they don't believe that they are held to the same standard, or should be held to the same standard as newspapers, and thereby they're not under any of the regulation that newspapers would be. If newspapers printed half the stuff that is allowed on social media platforms, I mean, I know that because I won a huge defamation case against a not-for-profit organisation in America. You know, people are held responsible for libel and defamation, but social media companies aren't, and yet they've got, by a magnitude of millions, a larger platform and audience through which to spread those lies. And I think the last thing I'll say is, I think the genie is already out the bottle. It's probably a bit too late. And the bigger danger now, I think, is because the technology has been invented already, we can't undo that, a bit like the nuclear bomb. The bigger danger now, I think, then, is governments who have this technology, like in China, that have created a kind of a social credit system where they can reward or punish you based upon your views and whether you comply. And that's where I'm now watching. PayPal and other financial services companies on the internet have started taking editorial judgments as to who can use their financial services. And if we end up in a cashless society, you could end up with certain people that don't have cash because we don't have cash anymore, but also don't have the electronic means to make exchanges, and they end up on the margins of society, and that's where China's headed with its social credit system.
Wow. What do you think?
I am of the view that we have a real structural problem. I think we've talked about this before, that government does not understand tech. Government does not have people who understand tech. It's always... And I think if you take the view that on tax, you know, government's always been a step behind. When it comes to social media tech, it's like 10 or 20 steps behind. You know, when I was a reporter, I used to interview ministers about their strategy for dealing with things that promote self-harm on social media, that deals with automation, that deals with data in the age of massive tech. They didn't get it. They didn't have people working for them that get it. So I think that we are... regulators are massively behind, and that's just not sustainable. When you think about how powerful these companies are and will continue to be, I mean, yes, I think that antitrust should be maybe have more teeth and that monopolies need to be broken up, but I don't think that's going to change the fundamentals. The future is going to be run by companies that are more powerful than nation states. And
that's scary.
That is scary, but we live in a capitalist society. They've found a business model that works. What can you do? I think... And I'm not saying we shouldn't do anything. I think that government needs to massively step up.
And also, I hope you're not saying we should live in a communist society.
And I'm not saying we should live in a communist society, and even if I were, it would make no difference. But I also think that, you know, if you look at George Orwell, and the only thing he got wrong in his genius vision, the only thing he got wrong was he imagined in the future that by coercion we would have our privacy taken away from us. He could never have imagined that we would willingly give it away. That's what we do.
Can we move it away from publishing and the sort of capitalist structure? Because I think we need to bring it back on its 30th birthday to how the internet, you know, Tim Berners-Lee, Sir Tim, thought maybe it would be like the Coke ad and teach the world to sing in perfect harmony, and it hasn't. What it's done is it's given a brilliant vector or conduit for people, the nutbags out there, the angry people out there, to show their anger. And, you know, we've all got to live with that around this table. Michelle, you this week in particular. And our MPs, since we've had... But let's pretend that political discourse has been anything but divisive since the beginning of Parliament. But let's just, if I may, Nick, hear from some female MPs who are going to read out, in honour of International Women's Day, which has passed, tweets that they have received in the course of their work as representatives.
You're less attractive than Medusa's fugly sister.
Numpty.
Caroline Noakes is a self-centred, arrogant bitch.
Silly wee lassie.
How can she even talk about saving the hospital when she's Tory scum?
Fits into the blonde stereotype.
Caroline Dinage is a worthless
I might just add that, you know, the internet is also wonderful. Amber Rudd gave a speech on International Women's Day, which I was present, and she said that she also had a tweet that said, she read it out, she said, Amber Rudd, the only reason you're in Cabinet is, no, you're useless, you're hopeless, you've been fired from every Cabinet position you're in. The only reason Theresa May has put you back into Cabinet is because you're so good-looking. And everyone loved it. So, you know, we've got to retain our senses of humour.
God, if I showed you my social media this week, your hair would curl.
Yeah.
I've had it all barrels this week. Anyway, Nick.
I want to pick up on your introduction. The thing that fascinated me most was the online dating. Have you ever... This is something I've never experienced. Am I the only person in the panel today who's never online dated?
Oh, no, I've never done it.
I've
never done it.
I've done it undercover.
You've done it undercover. Now, how do you online date?
Really?
Undercover.
Because I was doing an investigation on what happens.
Well, that's what you told your
when
boyfriend.
You
That's your
So I
story.
created a fake profile.
That's
it
a
was
great
more addictive
alibi.
than I'd
Now, this is
intended.
this is what interests me, right? Never mind all the bloody Googles
I thought you
and
was
all
a
that.
taken man. Why is
No.
no,
I am absolutely.
Go on.
It's the false representation, and you think you're going to meet, I don't know, whoever you think you're going to meet, the most attractive-looking man in the world. You know, the star from Doctor Who,
I've had
Idris
this a few
Elba.
times.
Yeah, this is what I want to hear. Now that's what never mind all this. Tell me how he portrayed himself, and what was the reality when you turned up in the
I
bar?
had a scenario once.
This is what
where,
I want.
and thank you for taking my topic way off topic.
Yeah, absolutely.
But very briefly.
We want the dating.
Yes, very briefly. I did go on a date quite a while ago now with a guy, and I was in the bar, and he was messaging saying, I'm here, and I couldn't get my head around where he was. And I'm like, looking around, where are you, where are you? So in the end, there was a guy that was on his own, and I thought, it's not him. And then I rang him, and as I rang him, this guy's phone, and he
You
pulled
ran?
I was like, good, it wasn't good. And I said to him, because I am confident enough to do so, I said to him, with all due respect...
You don't look like your profile
You don't
picture.
look, you've misrepresented yourself massively, and I don't think that's the right foot for us to get off on, so I'm going to leave it at that.
It wouldn't be the right foot
Well,
to
you
get
can't
off
say
on.
much to that.
That's what we
can you?
wanted. That's more like it.
Right, from Michelle's dating disasters to deadbeat dads. Coming up after the break, why do women always get the blame?